I think we help people in different ways, right? It's almost like leadership, right? You find some leaders that are vocal, right? That can talk. You find other leaders that lead by example. They're not big talkers, right? They're just the guys you watch. They're going to do their thing, and you can point to them and say, hey man, you see the way that guy works and does his thing, follow him. And I think the same for opposition and adversity. You find some people, they can work their way through it, and then they can speak about it and tell people. You got others that deal with it and they can work their way through it, and you almost have to pry it out of them. And so it's like, for me with speaking, I never wanted to speak, never had any interest in it, right? Never said, man, I want to go across the country, share my story. I wasn't interested. I wanted to coach. When that fell through, I wanted to work at a rec center in my neighborhood, create leadership curriculums for the kids, and just give back to them. And one day I was talking with my buddy, and he just made me realize, like, what you went through just wasn't for you, right? Basically, like I was being selfish about my situation and my experience, right? He was like, you're going through it, you got through it, you're dealing with it, but that's not just for you. Like when we go through a situation and circumstance, it's easy to step back and think, man, I just went through this and it's just my experience. I firmly believe when we go through things, it's for us to deal with it, get over it, and reach back over the hill to help another person. And a lot of times, like you said, when you're trying to work through it, you think, man, how can I help somebody? And I'm trying to get through it myself, right? And that's a great perspective, right? But when you get through it, right, maybe you can't help them when you're in the midst of it because you're processing it. But when you get over the hill, I think it's important and I think it's vital that you reach back over the hill and help somebody that may be going through a similar situation, and you can share your values and principles with them, because that experience that we go through and we deal with, it's not just for us. Man, it's so tough, because I remember when I was young and I didn't have my father, right, in the household, and we became cool, and I remember I used to live my life, and I had like, it was like a resentment toward him, right, because I couldn't understand why he wasn't there early on. Like I just couldn't understand it, right? And like when I would be home and we would experience certain things, and me and my cousins would be asleep on the floor, right? And there were certain questions and things at times that I wanted to ask my father, and because he wasn't in the household, I couldn't ask him. So it created a resentment until one day I just asked. We were together, and I just asked, like, man, what happened? And he just shared with me what happened, right? Like, I was young, your mother was young, right? I ended up losing my mother, right? And I was just scared, right? And when he told me this situation, I could understand it, right? And for most people, it's like forgiveness is the hardest thing in the world. And when you see a son, when you see him coming up with his mother, or you see a father that's not present, a lot of times for me, I think now, man, what's that situation? And I want to understand it, right? Because I firmly believe, as tough as the situation is, my teacher said this to me. My teacher, who's my mentor, my 8th grade teacher. He said to me one day when I was in the 8th grade, because we was talking about fatherhood and stuff like that, and some of my friends, they were talking about their fathers. We were just having a man conversation. And one of my friends said, like, man, my father don't care about me. Or he don't want me, right? Like, I'm in the world, I don't see him, right? And my teacher said to him, son, I don't think any man brings a kid into this world and don't think about him and don't love him and don't want him. And the kid was like, no, man, like, that's wrong, right? And he was like, I'm a man, I'm a father, I'm a husband, right? And when he said it, at the time I was young and I was like, I don't know. But now that I'm a father, right? I got 2 kids, or I got 3 little sisters, right? And it's this thing inside of me that makes me think like it was true. It was real. But situations and circumstances happen sometimes that we can't understand, and it leaves a mother in the household, or sometimes it leaves a father to be a single father, right? And when that happens, I think the village is important. It's like me, I got a level of accountability and responsibility with my son, right? If my son plays on a team right? And it's kids on that team that their fathers are not present. I feel like I have a responsibility and obligation not to be their father, right? But to fill a void, to be a positive male figure in that kid's life as much as possible. And not just look at the kid and see him drowning and just be like, that's not my kid, I'll just let him drown, right? No, he's very much so my kid, right? Because God has put me here to be present in this kid's presence, so I'm gonna help him, right? And so it's just becoming a village around that mother or around that father to assist as much as possible to help that kid be shaped and molded in the right way with principles. Hey, how you doing, guys? Inky Johnson here. Just got done, man, doing an interview with my guys, the Mulligan brothers. We had a great time. I appreciate their platform and what they do. Most importantly, I respect and I admire it. Take care. Peace.